First of all, I would like to show my deep appreciation to our new subscribers. Your support means the world to us, and it shows that we are really doing something good and contributing to the global health agenda. So, as I mentioned in the last episode, this month I'm highlighting and showcasing amazing individuals who are doing phenomenal work in the AI and digital health space, especially as it regards women's health care. And so, in this episode, I'm going to be bringing on an amazing woman. You will be meeting her shortly. You guys know that I'm a digital health enthusiast, right? And that, I'm so in love with the way digital health intertwines with women's health. Our amazing guest is a radiation oncologist, specializing in breast and gynecological cancers. She's also an innovator. She is also an entrepreneur who is using her expertise and all her platforms, her global health activities and all that focus on improving the delivery of radiation therapy, especially in undeserved communities and low and middle income countries. So without spilling too much of the beans, I'm going to be welcoming Dr. Onyinye Balogun. Onyinye, thank you so much for coming on and welcome.
Thank you so much. I love the pronunciation. The Niger, you gave it
Yes,
the proper Niger treatment. So thank you.
Awesome. Yes, we don't go far from our roots, huh? We don't go far.
Yes, yes.
So, thank you so much for finding the time to come, knowing your busy schedule and all that. And so let's get off to a very good start. Onyinye, please, who are you? Tell us about yourself.
Ooh, so first of all, thank you for having me here. I'm so happy that you reached out after we first met, and I'm very glad to be part of what you're doing, which is spreading awareness and just shining a light on the issue of global health and specifically cancer. So who am I? I guess I'm a Niger girl. You can take the girl out of Niger, but you cannot take Niger out of the girl. But I was born in Nigeria. Yeah, I was born in Nigeria. I lived there for about the first 8 years of my life. And then I came to the United States with my family. And it was a trip back to Nigeria when I was about 12 or 13 to see my aunt who had been diagnosed with breast cancer that I think really changed my perspective and had a lasting impact on me. She had been diagnosed with breast cancer, and I saw firsthand the side effects of her treatment. I would later come to realize that those side effects were due to radiation therapy. Many, many years later, after I had, finally chosen radiation oncology, I saw certain pictures I'd taken of her about a decade previously, and I said, oh, it was radiation therapy that had led to these side effects she experienced. I guess everything came full circle. But her experience led me to just have a global perspective, to always be thinking about, okay, this is my domestic and local environment, and I want to have an impact here, but I definitely don't want to forget the global perspective of things. And so that's why I became an oncologist, because I want to reduce people's suffering from cancer. And as it relates to, women's health, I'm just very passionate about it. It's Women's History Month. I think we have to make many more investments in women's health so that we can get to the kind of outcomes that many, men enjoy in many different diseases. So that is who I am. I'm an oncologist. I am a mother of 2 boys. I'm a wife to a wonderful individual who also happens to be an oncologist. I'm a sister and a daughter. And of course, I call myself the eternal optimist. And you have to be that, I think. I think you have to be that when you are dealing with cancer and when you are dealing with entrepreneurial world. So, yes.
Yes, you're an all-rounder actually. You fit
Thank you.
you fit in everything possible. And with the empathy that you imbibe, it can't be too difficult for you because you're such a warm and
Thank you.
welcoming person. I felt that and I saw that during our first
Thank
interaction.
you.
So, Oyeye, you are a co-founder
Yeah.
of Mission Driven Tech. Please give us a brief update and backstory of your startup.
Absolutely. So, Mission Driven Tech is a women's health venture that I co-founded with the CEO and co-founder of Eve McDavid. So, our goal is to modernize gynecologic cancer care through bringing in technological innovations that frequently already exist in other medical devices.
Mhm,
So, the backstory is that in 2020, Eve and I met as physician and patient. So she had just been diagnosed with stage 2B cervical cancer, and she was pregnant at the time. So we quickly moved into action and delivered her baby and started treatment. And of course, we know what happened in March 2020, dun dun dun, the
we know,
pandemic.
pandemic.
Yeah, yeah. So it was really an experience for both of us. And I think
Mhm,
we had to cultivate that trust in one another, trust that she was going to do her part and come in for her treatments, and
mhm,
trust that I was going to take care of her and do what was best to get her through not just the cancer, but the pandemic safely.
mhm,
So during the course of our interactions, Eve is a very inquisitive person, and she was actually a Google executive at that time who was using technology to improve all these other processes. In particular, she'd worked with YouTube, looking at how to best drive individuals and use that technology
mhm,
around the presidential election. So she was used to thinking about things in an analytical way. And when she saw the devices that I was using, she said, Oni, do you think we can do this better? Because these devices are very painful.
mhm.
You love the outcomes. Cervical cancer needs to be treated with, if it can't be treated with just surgery, then it needs to be treated with a combination of chemotherapy plus radiation from the
Radiation.
outside, external radiation. And then the final phase is you give internal radiation about,
Mm,
anywhere from 3 to 5 times internally. And the devices that are used for that internal radiation, that's called brachytherapy, they are, arcane. They
mhm.
are archaic. They were first,
Absolutely.
they were first approved in the 1990s when women weren't even mandated to be part of clinical trials. So how rigorously were they tested for fit and comfort in female anatomy?
Mhm.
And since that time, many of the innovations that have been brought in are to add needles. And so it's not been a patient-centered or survivor-centered perspective. And when Eve asked me, I said, Eve, I know we can improve this device, but first let's get you to remission. And
Yes.
a year later, when we had the green light, she, of course, was still persistent, and I really respect that passion and that drive. And so we began working together, and we are in the process of building prototypes for our improved brachytherapy device, that's supposed to be more comfortable, because right now 25% of women who need brachytherapy run away from the
Yes,
procedure because it's just so
because it
painful.
hurts, right? It's so
It
uncomfortable.
Some people, many people, compare it to childbirth.
Oh
So
my
who
goodness.
in their right mind would voluntarily show up for childbirth experience spaced 48 hours apart 5 times in the
A
span of
week.
2 weeks?
Oh
You
wow.
know, so it shouldn't be a matter of who is toughest,
Mm,
and who can withstand that kind of pain. The other issue is, when we talk about a global perspective, there is significant heterogeneity of pain control protocols. Even
mhm,
here, where I am in New York, one center might be giving general anesthesia and
mhm,
knocking people out completely.
Mm-hmm.
That's my preference. Another center might be doing an epidural. And then I've been in international settings where they give them a Xanax and they say, we just have to do this. Or they give nothing because is
Oh my God.
anesthesia available? Can the person pay for it? So
Mm-hmm.
we really see this as a global problem, where we have 600,000 cases of cervical cancer per year and 300,000 deaths, and where the 5-year survival rates have not budged in the past 50 years.
Oh my goodness. That's a lot.
So
Oh,
it's a
wow.
lot. So we know that, we consider ourselves part of the cervical cancer elimination strategy set
Mm-hmm.
forth by the WHO. We're very
Mm-hmm.
fortunate to be partnered with a number of different organizations. American Cancer Society, Bright
Mm-hmm.
Edge Entrepreneurship Program is one of our investors. We're part of
Okay.
the Cervical Cancer Roundtable for the American Cancer Society, as well as a number of other, organizations that we proudly collaborate with.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that it's going to take prevention with the HPV vaccine. It's going to
Yeah.
take screening, right, with HPV and PAP
Mm-hmm.
tests done
Mm-hmm.
regularly and provided to, I think the goal is at least 70% of women
Mm-hmm.
having that test, a high performance test done.
Mm-hmm.
And then we know it's going to take, 90% of women being treated, and treatment is key. And I think it may be part of why we have this stagnant survival rate. So ours is part of the solution, but we believe it's a critical part.
It is a very critical part, you know. So, I mean, considering that this innovation will be key to, what should I say, the
Mhm,
diagnosis and treatment, so to speak, of cervical
mhm.
cancer, how
Yeah,
would you try to encourage? I mean, you say women are running away, but it's not for their own good if they do that. These things have to get done for them to survive. How does one kind of,
yeah,
encourage them to come? Because that's very
yeah,
important until
yeah.
this, hits the stores, as they say, if you know what I mean. How
Yeah,
do
yeah.
you try to encourage
And yeah.
those ladies to come on board and get this thing done?
So that's a phenomenal question, and you've exactly hit on a great point, which is it takes time for medical devices to come to market.
Hmm.
We're looking at FDA submission by 2025. So in the interim, it is crucial. It's so
Hmm.
important to provide not just survivors who are going through the procedure, but also clinicians
Hmm.
information. I'm big on education. I think education makes all the difference. I'm big on especially informed consent. So Eve and I have done some research looking at what have been the experiences of women who have gone through cervical cancer, especially brachytherapy. And what we found is quite alarming. A number of individuals tell us it's not infrequent, it's not uncommon that people do not know they're going through brachytherapy until it's upon them. So you have this initial
So
5 weeks
they didn't
of
know. So
chemo.
they just,
They didn't,
put it on them.
they just say, oh, okay, now we're going to do brachytherapy. And I don't believe in that. I think people have to
No,
have buy-in from the
of course.
beginning. You have to give them the whole field. And I think probably some individuals are afraid that they'll scare people off. But I find that if you are honest with people and you tell them this is an uncomfortable procedure, then they can better prepare their minds. Yes, maybe some of them will still not show up because they're
Hmm.
afraid,
Hmm.
but you have to give people
The
the
option.
clear, exactly, exactly. You can't just spring it on them. So that's one issue, and
Hmm.
that's part of why what we're doing is creating a continuing medical education series to talk
Hmm.
to practitioners, medical practitioners, about what are best practices, right? How do you
Hmm.
speak to someone about the procedure? When should you tell someone about the procedure? And
Hmm.
then, of course, we're also going to do education. Eve spearheaded this phenomenal project that we call Breaky Stories. We we've initially interviewed at Survivor, the largest conference for cervical cancer survivors here, led by Tamika Felder, a survivor herself. It's spelled
I
Cervivor.
know Tamika. Yeah, she's doing,
Tamika,
yeah, she's doing phenomenally when it comes to
it's a
cervical
small
cancer.
world.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there were interviews done there, and we just elicited these really they are inspiring stories, but it tells
Hmm.
you of the significant need for innovation. So we also think that by sharing those stories, women can have a sense of what to expect
Hmm.
when undergoing brachytherapy. And I think it's those two things, like being real about this is the discomfort that's going to occur with this procedure, but also
Yes.
reassuring them I'm going to do everything in my power to try and keep you as comfortable as possible. We have these pain control regimens. I will listen to you. That's I think maybe part of what's missing, the informed
Yes.
consent
Hmm.
and the reassurance of I'm going to listen to you. I'm not going to undermine your pain. So
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly. And then, like you rightly said, having those kind of peer support groups, these
yeah,
bracky stories you're talking about,
yeah.
to encourage them, because sometimes we need to hear that people are or have gone through those
Made it.
issues and have come out on
Yeah,
the other side. And so
exactly.
it gives one hope that, oh, okay, if they can do it with their help and, push, I too can make it out as well. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that is phenomenal. That is phenomenal. So,
Thank you.
generally speaking, what would you say is the general impact of AI in women's health? Because even when we had the panel discussion that both of us
Mm-hmm.
sat on,
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about a lot of things, but you know, generally, what would you say is the impact? And why would
Yeah.
you say people are distrustful of AI in
Mm.
healthcare?
Yeah. So I think so I'll full disclosure, I'm a fan. I think
Yes,
we can always harness
so am
the
I.
best, yeah, we can always harness the better aspects of AI. And I think a lot of people have said, don't view AI as like, for instance, from the physician perspective, as something that's going to replace you, right?
Mm,
Think of it as a tool that can assist you in working more effectively, more efficiently. And that's how I view it. And I
mhm,
think the same goes for the other perspective for the individuals who are seeking healthcare. They should view it as a means of us being able to better diagnose, more accurately diagnose, to deliver treatment to them faster. One of the issues is that with AI, it comes up with these different algorithms,
mhm,
for doing this or that. Let's say, for instance, we want AI to be able to look at certain images and tell us
mhm,
who's going to get cancer. And
mhm,
so the one of the things is we don't really know sometimes frequently how did it get there, right? What is it
mhm,
exactly is it looking at that lets it be able to distinguish? And then
mhm,
one of the questions that for me comes up, I'm um a fervent believer in diversity, equity, and inclusion, right?
mhm,
Um, and so are when we build these models, right? First, you gather all your data, and then you try and use those that technology to say, oh, hey, I want you to use all this data and learn how to distinguish XYZ. All
mhm,
that data, is it representative of the population? Did you only include primarily white patients?
mhm.
Have you included other individuals from the population, Black, people who are Asian, people who are of Native American heritage, so that this thing doesn't just say, oh, well, this is the answer, but it's only based on one
On
population.
one
So I think
population.
exactly. We have to figure out how to guide it
Yeah.
so that it gives us the correct answer. And I think because it's kind of a black box, we don't fully know everything.
Mhm.
Understandably, some people are distrustful, but I see it as a tool for good.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. It definitely is. You know why I brought this up? I was interviewing somebody earlier, and she was saying, but you know, we all have, this is like machine learning, and
Mm,
those that are distrustful of AI, we've been basically using AI for the last 20 years. I mean, Google, what do you call
yeah,
Google? What do you call,
yeah,
all the other stuff that you're, looking at?
yeah,
They're all AI.
yeah.
So it's just that because it's healthcare and all that, information comes from somewhere, and it's what you
Mm-hmm.
put in that you get out.
Exactly.
If AI didn't see, or was all this information not out there, then
Yeah,
you wouldn't get all the information coming back at you, or
yeah,
answers being thrown at you. It's based
exactly.
on what has been put in, So yeah,
And
what you say.
definitely, yeah, at Mission Driven Tech, we see how AI can influence what we're trying to do because right now when women come in, we frequently have to design once we place we place these devices internally inside the uterus, near the cervix in order to deliver radiation internally. And then we do a scan and we have to delineate where do I want to treat, where are the normal organs that should be spared. Right now, a lot of people are starting to interrogate how can we use AI to speed up that process because
Hmm.
we do it manually. We're trying to place the radioactive seeds virtually using a computer program, and that it can take time. A woman can easily come in at 8 o'clock and then leave by 4. So
Hmm.
8 hours spent in the hospital, unless you have one of those state of the art centers or brachytherapy suites where everything is there. People spend hours on this. So how can we use AI to make it a faster treatment, to come up with,
Process,
oh, this
yes.
is the plan that you should use, and then you can go in and refine it, right?
Yes,
But it's already gotten you further than you would have if you just relied on yourself.
on
So I think
yourself.
there's definitely a role for AI.
Mm.
We see it as a tool for good.
Absolutely. So, technology is, really fast improving, honestly. I know we don't have time. We
Yeah.
can speak about this for like forever, but we do
Yes.
see that, VR and AR is, hitting the
Yeah.
landscape like no man's
Yeah.
business. What
Absolutely.
excites you about, these technologies?
I love that these technologies, I'm a visual person. I don't know if you are.
I am,
Yeah,
honestly.
I'm a visual learner. I think you and I both like colors. We like things that
Yes.
engage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I am a visual learner, and I think many people are too. And sometimes people say, I can show you better than I can tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So especially when it comes to medical procedures that people don't really know much about, what if they were able to, as they're waiting in that doctor's office. I hate
Room
making
or
people wait,
something.
but as you're
Yes.
waiting in the doctor's room, what if we could put on a virtual reality and take them on a tour? Look, here's the machine that you're going to be treated on. Look at how
Mm-hmm.
it's, rotating around the person and you see it, right? You can even maybe
Mm-hmm.
reach out and touch some things. And then also for brachytherapy, look, watch this, look at this procedure, hold the tools in your hand. I don't
Yeah.
know if that will make some people more anxious, but we could do studies about how can you include VR in that sort of thing, and how do people respond. My hunch is that when people get to familiarize themselves with something prior to
Yes.
undergoing it, it takes away a
It
lot of the tension and stress
Yes, and the fear,
and the fear.
so that at least they now know what it is. I mean, like if you see the instrument going into the canal, into the
Yeah,
woman's
yeah,
body, they can visualize, they can now know what is happening,
yeah, yeah,
rather than
yeah,
just be told or just wait for it to happen, but they don't
yeah,
know how it's, what's
yeah,
happening internally, so
exactly. Yeah.
that that
No,
is that is awesome.
people in my field have created, wonderful brochures and guides, like
Hmm.
Daniel Golden at University of Chicago, beautiful guides about brachytherapy, in conjunction with one of my former attendings, Yasmin Hassan. And I think the next step is how can we, instead of something static,
Hmm.
even just watching a video on YouTube, the next
Hmm.
level is VR, right?
Yes.
Seeing what room am I going to be in, right? Okay, I've been in this room before. I
Hmm.
I feel at peace. So
Hmm.
yeah.
That's awesome. So where do you see mission-driven tech in 5 years from now?
Oh, wonderful. I see mission-driven tech 5 years from now. Absolutely, we have our first generation device on the market. It has become the standard for medical care when
Mhm.
patients go into their, hopefully it'll be fewer and fewer individuals diagnosed with cervical cancer, but
Oh,
when
we
they go in,
pray.
they say, hey, do you have the Blossom? That's the name of our device. Do you have the Blossom?
Oh,
Do you use the Blossom
nice.
here? It will be, yeah, it'll be one of the questions that they're told to ask.
Hmm.
So that's where one place where I see mission driven tech. I see us expanding because these brachytherapy devices are also used for endometrial cancer in certain cases where you can't operate.
Wonderful.
Then you can also use these. So I see us expanding into that. And then, absolutely, we're going to not just be stateside. Like I said at the top of the conversation,
We're
we
going back
don't see
home.
it. We're going, look, there are women, I've met too many women in Nigeria,
We're
in
going back
Ghana.
home.
We're going back
Africa
to it. Yeah. And even,
and
Asia
other,
is going to,
yes,
yeah.
Asia.
But
Yes.
I have a soft spot in my heart for sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria in
Yeah.
particular. I
Hmm.
I don't think either Eve or I will feel we have done um a complete job
Hmm.
until we have made sure that the Blossom is available not just in US markets, not just in European markets, but
Hmm.
also in markets like sub-Saharan Africa, Asia, Latin America, where the cervical cancer rates are substantially higher.
I can't wait for that to happen, and I'm sure very, very soon. I know it. And don't forget to send me that invitation. I'll be there at launch.
Oh, absolutely. You have front row seats.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I know I've taken up a lot of your time, and I just want to ask, what is one fun thing about you before you go?
Oh my goodness. I love dancing.
You love dancing?
I
Ah, we have a lot
love
in common.
dancing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love dancing. I enjoy music. Thanks to my
Mm-hmm.
siblings. They didn't let me
Mm-hmm.
become a full-on nerd. They was always play music around me. And now I find myself, seeking music, going after it. But I
Oh,
love
yes.
dancing. Nothing
Oh,
better than to just bust
wonderful.
a move.
Yes, indeed. Just, go crazy, stir crazy for a while and then back to the grindstone. Thank you
Exactly.
so much,
Exactly.
Onyinye. You've been so wonderful. It's been lovely talking to you and keep shining your light and doing the good that you do. And I know that very soon cervical cancer will be a thing of the past.
Amen. From your lips. Thank you so
Amen.
much for having
To
me.
God's ears. Yes. Thank you for
Exactly.
coming. So before I go, let me, say something to the audience watching. So, my dear audience and friends, there you have it. You've been listening to my beautiful friend, sister, and an amazing entrepreneur, innovator, and medical oncologist, Onyinye Balogun. She has been sharing her insights about their new innovation, mission driven tech. You'll be learning more from here about Blossom. That is the name of the innovation that will be coming up by God's grace next year. So keep your eyes peeled. You'll be watching. Thank you so much, Onyinye, and God bless.
Thank you. Thank you, Grace. Keep up the excellent work.
Oh, thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.